got 25 minutes. We got to go. Mic check. Ayo.
Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Happy
post 4th of July if you're an American. Although I have to say, I almost wanted to boycott this particular Independence Day. I was like, I officially now only recognize Juneteenth. I am, but that's just me because of the recent Supreme Court rulings that just came out before the 4th of July. And I know we're going to talk about them because of today's topic.
I was about to say, don't give it away. Don't give it away.
But if you are a first timer watching Say That channel, please go ahead and put a 1 in the chat in the comments. That way we know that you are with us for the first time, so we can welcome you appropriately. And if this is not your first time, if you are already a part of Say That Nation, go ahead and put that in the comments so we can also shout you out as well. And, you know, for our first timers, Say That channel is all about talking about the ugly come up, right? So you know how you hear of these amazing stories of business owners and entrepreneurs who start off having nothing and then have massive success. But what happens in the middle? What happens during that ugly come up? Well, we here at Say That channel are unapologetic about talking about that particular phase in entrepreneurship and business life. And what has been really cool is this season, we've taken on a whole new level where we have been introducing to our community other thought leaders, other content creators out there who are providing extremely valuable information, and taking a look at that and having us educating ourselves while also educating our Say That Nation members at the same time. And it's been super cool. Today is going to be another day of that.
Absolutely. And guys, today's topic is actually a really interesting one. If you've checked out any of our Monday rundowns, you'll see that we tend to discuss different things. We stay focused on business and entrepreneurship on Wednesday, but something that we're looking at today with today's question is other facets that could be affecting your business, maybe affecting people in your family, you know, your family ship and such. And so let's jump into today's question and dice it up. Today's topic, guys.
Do student loans bridge dreams or ensnare you in a financial trap?
Shout out to ChatGPT for helping us with the question.
Yes, because AI is real. And we're also going to thank ChatGPT as well. Thank you, ChatGPT. Because we know you're listening. So I want to answer this question and say that it is a bit of a financial trap. Yeah. And I think most people are now looking at college differently and higher education differently and are looking at ways in which to be able to afford that education without having to load yourself up with debt. Because that's basically what happens after you leave is that you have all this debt that you now need to pay off. The generations before us don't understand this and they're just like, whatever, like just take out loans. You know why? Because you took out a loan for like $1,000, Uncle Joe. Like, yeah, like that's why, right? Because your student loan was nowhere near what students are taking out now, which is, I think the average student loan is at least $25,000, like at least. And so, or I say on average, I should say the least amount is $25,000. So anyway, I think it is a bit of a trap. I am currently in the trap myself. I also have student loans. And so I question this a lot. I question what we're doing to our younger generations as they head into college and graduate school as well.
With the loans, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm going to say it's a kind of, yes and no. So one of the big things I've been realizing recently is just with education, you can definitely make different decisions. And so I think there's a lack of education around taking out student loans. I think a lot of it, to your point, Janelle, fell to our parents who were just trying to get you what they believed the American dream, a part of it was getting you to the best place they could education-wise so that you could provide for yourself financially, you know, later on in life when they're no longer here. But there's not as much information, or there wasn't as much information when giving out student loans. And so many people in most cases didn't even realize this was something they had to pay back. You're locked into most of this. So imagine wanting to go to college, you know, wanting to do something to better yourself later on in life, signing up for something, getting into a school, and then later on finding out, oh wait, I have to do 3 or 4 more years of this, and I have to, if I drop out now, I still got to owe this money back, and I can't get a job. Because for us, and I don't know if this is the case for many of our audience, but I remember when, if you only had a high school diploma, many companies weren't even going to consider having a conversation with you. You couldn't even get in the door if it didn't say college graduate on your resume. And so I think there is a big shift in the fact that there are so many more ways now to earn an income. Many companies are now looking at things very differently. I don't think it's the case that they don't care that you've graduated from college or have higher education. I just don't think it's maybe held to the same level standard. And I'm not in that market. So correct me if I'm wrong, guys, in the comments. But I don't know how heavily it weighs now that you have that, or that you are a graduate.
I would say
even graduate school, maybe the difference. Maybe that's the different level now.
Yes, it's the type of school, the name of the school.
So I'm going to say it's weird because I do think it helps bridge dreams. Many jobs and opportunities aren't going to let you in the door, like I said, without the college degree. But I just wish that there was more guidance when we were signing up for loans. And obviously you can look to other countries that don't even have this as in so much of an issue. So there's obviously things that the banks and those giving loans could be doing better. So it's kind of like a poison pill. It's like both. I feel like I could argue both sides of this because there's so many people who, Janelle, could you be in the job you're in had you not gone through higher education? Probably not.
No, 100% no.
Right? You couldn't have just got out of high school, which is mostly free, and go, oh, I'm a genetic counselor. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's kind of one of those. But it's
like the dream comes with the trap.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
But it's not just going to be us today, guys. So let's jump into, I believe we're listening to EYL today and hear what the gentlemen from there have to say about this topic.
Student loans is actually the second biggest debt. The biggest debt for an average person is the mortgage.
Yep.
The second biggest debt is student loan.
1.6 trillion.
And it's crazy because so we're giving away some money to our high school.
Yes. $5,000. We're giving away scholarships to 5 students. We're giving away just because we wanted to do something that was impactful.
No, but let me tell a story.
Oh, you want to tell a story? You want to talk about the scholarship?
No, Ian. So here's the thing: we give away. I'll just keep it brief. All right. We're giving away $5,000, right? We did it last year, and to receive the money, students they had to write an essay about why they should get the money.
No, so they had to. It was just like a future business plan, not even like an idea, not even a plan. I shouldn't say plan. A future business idea. What would you do with the 1,000?
It was relatively easy,
simple.
Yeah.
How many essays do you think we got?
4.
How many?
4.
You overshot it by 50%.
Wow, there was no ChatGPT back then.
So 2. I don't think it was that many.
Yeah, we got 2.
We got 2.
So we upped it this year. We said, look, we're going to do it. We're going to open it up for 5 students. 5 students. To date, how many essays do you think we got?
7. I've been on Duolingo. 7.
They have not got one yet.
Haven't got one yet.
So here's the great thing about it. All you got to do is write the essay. You're going to get money.
And ChatGPT.
One or two things is not happening. Maybe it's not marketed correctly. That could be our fault.
Possibly.
Fair.
Or
that's a good assessment.
It's just a complete lack of motivation.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the debt thing. I would rather just take out student loan because I don't have to do anything. Fill out some paperwork, take out student loan. I got to actually sit down and write an essay for $1,000.
I mean, there's negligence, right? There's negligence from the student part. There's negligence from an administrative part as well, right? So if the kids don't know about it, then they won't know to do it. That's one part of it, right? But there are kids who do know about it and are choosing not to do it. And there's parents who know about it and are doing nothing.
We have not received one essay yet.
Yeah, and that's just for our high school, Woodlands High School here in it's in Hartsdale, New York. But I'm saying because people are like, how do I get the 1,000? It was for our high school. So if you're a senior at Woodlands High School, right? If you're in Greenberg, you're in Hartsdale, and you go to Woodlands and you're a senior, this is for you.
But like I said, this goes back to a wider issue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point? What's the point?
What's the point of what?
Of writing an essay when I could just borrow money.
Damn.
it's a mentality that we've been ingrained to think to do the least amount of possible. We want to do the least amount and get the most.
Okay, now if we can be honest, who put that into our society? Because we have to have a bigger, and I keep trying to have the conversation. I don't want to ruin any relationships. We have to go to the top with the banks and with the venture capital firms. Who are pushing this?
It's business first.
Yeah, I mean, but no, for sure. But I'm just saying, it's just the mentality that we have been ingrained in to do the least to get the most. We want to do the least amount to get the most.
Well, partly true, right? Because there's people, and I've been in that boat, right? Where it was like, my parents would, I guess we were middle class, and it was like, you got to fill out, you can't even get student loan. You got to fill out financial aid first. And then you don't qualify financial aid if you make a certain amount. And then you got to get student loan because you can't get it, right? So if my parents are middle class, we're not getting any financial aid, right? So like, I remember I got a check for $36 for financial aid. What am I do with that? So now it's like, if my parents don't have it and I don't have it.
Here's the thing. Here's a novel idea. This is the harsh reality of life.
Oh.
If you can't afford to buy something, don't buy it. That includes college. That includes college.
Wow.
That includes college. This is something that I'm probably gonna get a lot of pushback.
Can we get a rebuttal?
Let me finish. I'm gonna get a lot of pushback for. I'm not saying don't go to college. I'm saying go to where you can afford. Everybody can afford community college. That's almost free.
No.
That's almost free. So my thing is this, right? Instead of you trying to take out a bunch of student loan to go to an out-of-state school, whether it's an HBCU school, whether it's whatever, if you financially can't afford to go to school and your parents know that, why don't you encourage your kid or tell your kid, look, you go to junior college for 2 years, right? Which essentially, even if you have to work part-time, you could pay for junior college. It's very affordable. So now you get to have an associate's degree, right, under your belt. And if you do well enough, now you can potentially get a scholarship based off of past performance, or even if you have to pay, you can still go to a state school to finish out your bachelor's degree, but paying for 2 years is a lot more beneficial for paying for 4 years, right? That's something that would substantially decrease the student loan crisis in this country. So some self-accountability has to be.
Can I be God's advocate real quick?
It would definitely substantially decrease the student loan crisis for sure.
Well,
for sure.
If master's degrees are not affording people to live or get a wage that is fair, that is commensurate to what they've invested, then how is getting an associate degree better per se?
Well, that's not, but master's degrees are what master's degree you're getting is the key. So this goes back to another situation as far as education. What are you majoring in, right? So we know that social sciences, communications, a lot of these degrees, doesn't matter if you have a doctorate degree, you're still facing an uphill battle. But just put it on Instagram a few days ago. The top 10 professions as far as how much you get paid are all medical professions. Medical profession, STEM is still making money. In medical field, architecture, if you're going to be a doctor, if you're going to be a lawyer, there's still you still are going to outpace the average American as far as the amount of money that you're going to make. So it's not necessarily that master's degree is not earning money. It's what kind of master's degree that you have that's not earning money. If you have a master's degree in sociology, it's going to still be difficult for you. Be honest.
But even those in the medical field, they also have the highest debt burden as well.
Yeah, they have the highest
and the amount of time that it takes to achieve that.
Well, I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah.
So you have to think of, okay, what's going to put me in the best situation possible to make money? If it's all about mitigating risk. If you want to go to college, but you don't have to go to college. But if you want to go to college, there's no guarantee that you're going to be successful either way. But you put yourself in the best position as possible. The best position is to make sure that you have as least debt as possible, right? And then you're in a better place. It's still not a guarantee that you're going to win, but you're in a better place as opposed to just winging it and just getting $80,000 of debt off the rip. And now you're in a worse place.
Yeah, but that goes back to, And that's now. We can speak of it now, right? And that was pretty much my strategy. It was like, look, I'm gonna stay close to home. I'm gonna find the most affordable school. I'm gonna try to have at least debt that is gonna put on my parents, which is eventually gonna turn on me because they're gonna be co-signers. So that was the plan. The difference now is that, well, then was that there wasn't any education behind it. So like when you're the first person that's going to school and this is the American dream, right? Like especially like first generation kids, it's like, you got to go to college because that's how you're going to be successful. But it all comes down to it is money, right? Like you got to think about the return on the investment. So if I'm going here, I have to finish. Most kids go and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But at that point, you're already in debt.
Stuck.
You almost have to finish. I spoke to a student the other day. She's studying in PT. She's like, I don't even want to do this anymore. Well, you're 5 years in. Guess what? You got to have to finish.
Got to finish.
Because if you don't, you can't afford to start over. And if you do, you're going to start at a base salary. Well, that's going to at least provide you with a salary in some profession. And so we got to, I'll say this, right? Because I went to school. I was educated. I'm going to be as kind as possible, right? If money is the root of the decision, then we have to find different ways to get to the money.
Yeah.
Whether it's finding a trade, whether it's finding a skill, some of these professions you have to go through.
Oh, what do you mean? If money's the root of the decision?
So why are we
going to college
because I want to make money.
All right.
That's the root of it, right?
But not necessarily.
Well, then why?
Okay, hold on. I'm just gonna pause this.
No, go for
it. Okay, so a couple of things. I looked it up because I wanted to be like doubly certain. I was right. It's $25,000 is the average, but it's really a range. It's anywhere between 25 to 50, and that's for public loans.
Mm-hmm.
There's another statistic that just came out May 22nd of 2023, and it says that the private student loan debt averages averages around 54,000 per borrower. So, I mean, whether you have a public or a private student loan, like this is a lot of money. And I think, I mean, they said 1.6 trillion in student loans in America, period.
It's actually 1.75.
Sorry, 1.7.
No, not what they said. I'm just saying that's where I don't know when I don't know what date this is for this episode, right, but I'm saying right now, exactly. We're at 1.75 right now.
And
$1 trillion.
Yeah. And so I think where it ended off actually is the most key thing. Most of us are going to college to make more money. And are you actually making more money when you get the degree? This idea of an associate's degree being better than a master's degree, I'm not so sure about that. So I'm with Ian. Like, I'm not so sure. Granted, he said like, well, it depends on what the field is in, but I don't know. There's a lot of.
I don't think he said better. I think, well, okay, maybe he did. I think he was trying to explain it from the idea of not putting yourself in debt to get this degree, similar to the other episodes where there's nothing that you essentially should be putting yourself in debt to acquire. And I know that's a big thing that they preach because you're kind of betting against yourself when you do that.
Yeah.
Think of the amount of money Janelle mentioned. How long have you been out of school?
20 years out of.
Wow.
20 years out of undergrad this year. It's my 20th year.
And I just paid off. So this is just your undergraduate that you're referring to still? Mm-hmm. And do you have debt from your master's program as well?
Mm-hmm.
My God. Okay. Yeah. Put a crying emoji in the chat for Janelle right now, because no, and not to make light of it, but you know, I just paid off my second student loan. I had two. It's similar to what Ian said. My mom co-signed. Actually, my parents co-signed both, I believe. I actually got some money from my school, so it wasn't even like it was the full thing. And something that I looked up just now, guys, 10 years ago, which is I've been out of school similar to Janelle over 20 years now, or close to 20 years now. 10 years ago, or excuse me, student loan, the percentage of the cost of school has increased by 66%.
That part.
In 10 years.
And then they wonder why students are out there protesting this.
Like it's unreasonable to be asking more when, and I think this is a point that they're maybe going to get a little bit more. You're not putting us in a position once we're out to get jobs, because that's not the school's fault. This is not the school's part. This is like, there's the companies that are out there who are, you know, obviously saying you need to go to school. But then these are the same people fighting when it comes to things like minimum wage and not wanting to provide salaries, for people who these people are coming out in debt. They need the young lady they just mentioned. That woman is 5 years stuck in something. So guess what? It doesn't matter if you want to get out of it now. The money is still owed. It doesn't matter if you're not into PT anymore. You still got to pay this back. How many people got into, like I said, you get into a program. I started in my school in computer engineering. I came out of my school with an economics degree because 2 years in, I was like, Mom, I don't want to do computer engineering anymore. My mom was like, just graduate. I went to my guidance counselor or my advisor, and it was, based on the classes you've taken, the best program that's going to get you out of here faster is economics or finance. Conversation with my mom, chose economics. 5 years later, I have a degree from Penn State that I have literally never used, in the sense that it's never gotten me into it. I don't have a job that has anything to do. I've never had a job that had anything to do with the degree I came out of school. I went into real estate, which I later found out I didn't even need to go to college for. You know what I mean? Like, so this is, again, I know we're going to go further into this, and Jeannie threw some stuff up in the chat, and she's definitely knows way more about this because she actually helps people in her day job now with student loans. So I'll throw back up some of the comments she said, and then we could dive back into it if you don't have anything else to say, Janelle. So the student loans about their responsibility as a borrower, as the process of repaying the student loans, interest, missing payments. I've watched students complete it. Oh, this is the form. Okay. And she's saying often they just skip through the information. Yeah. You know what this reminds me of? You ever see those long disclaimers, even when you update your phone? And they always joke that no one reads this stuff. But if you read it, you'd realize. I'll give you an example of what TikTok has. TikTok, basically, when you use it, you signed up for them to use all of your information. And you agreed to do it. And it's in there. They didn't lie to you. You just didn't care enough to read it. Because to this point, we're not taught to do that.
Not just that, but they also intentionally make it really long and really difficult.
No, so that you don't want to, obviously, they could probably put the scary stuff at the front. Page 1. We're going to sell your information. But they're not going to do that. They're going to bury that on page 99. And 5 minutes in, you're going to go, whatever. I just want to swipe through and see people do cool dances in synchronicity. Like, you don't think it's that deep. So, let's jump back into this.
Let's get back. Here we go.
All right.
Are we going
90%?
I would say more than 90%, right? If I didn't have to go to college,
Black, it's 100%. Yes.
right. It was like, that's the way to, quote unquote, accumulate wealth or be successful, quote unquote, right? If I didn't have to go, if there was another route, if there was an Earn Your Leisure in 2006, bro, I might not be going to grad school.
So here's the thing.
You know what I'm saying? So like, the education and the resources have changed.
I think that.
Hold on, let me finish. Where people can make wiser decisions. So that strategy that you're talking about, like, yes, go to community college, 2-year school, find another affordable school. But even after you find that associate's degree, you still may not have or be in a position where your parents can afford it. So you're still going to be in some form of debt. You want to mitigate it you lessen it. Right. You want to mitigate the risk as much as possible, but there's still going to be a certain amount of debt that's going to be accumulated. It's just about how much you're going to accumulate. But you're doing that because you want to, again, make money. Job. It's like when I'm a teacher, in order for me to make more money, I got to go back to school to get more credits. Well, I'm not even learning anything. I'm just going to get credits so I can make more money. If the goal is to learn, then there has to be a different incentive, right? If people are plus 30 or they're plus 60 or they have their doctorate, they're doing that in their profession, especially in education, because they're like, that's where the highest salary's at.
Yeah. Here's the thing. There's alternatives. And I don't want to harp on this situation for too long, but it's important. When you are in the pursuit of education, as far as a degree from college, there's ways to go about it that might take longer, that might not be as glamorous, but can eliminate a lot of debt. You can work while you're going to school. Mm-hmm. You can stay home. You can go to community college. You can take 6 years to get a 4-year degree. These are things that you can do, right? So
I like all those except the 6 year.
Why though? Because when I'm saying 6 years, I mean you're taking time. You might not have all day. Like my mom worked while she went to school, right? So she didn't have I just went to school.
Yeah.
So she didn't have the option to go to school from 10 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock, and she might have had 2 hours, right? So I'm saying, like, instead of 12, 13 credits, you might just take 6 credits a semester. That's why I'm saying 6 years.
And here's my opposition to it, because I am that person, right? Like, I worked and I went to school. And what happened when I was trying to get into the workforce, it was like, all right, the people that I had been in school with are now, they have 2 more years of experience than I have.
Yes.
Right. I now fall behind that class that I started with because their experience level is higher. Right. I'm spacing it out because, I don't have the time. I have to go to school on Saturday. I'm going to school at night, as opposed to somebody who's taking 18 credits in a semester. It's different. But what it does, again, because when we're in the work field, there is no age limit. You're competing against everybody. And so every year that I'm going to school, salary is increasing, I'm having less experience, it takes away from that. I'm just saying from a personal.
And in the interview process, the employee may even ask why did it take you 6 years to graduate.
I don't think anybody does necessarily. Nobody's ever asked why it takes 6 years to graduate, because as long as you have a degree, that you have a degree.
No.
That's true. But my thing is this: I don't know. Regardless of anything,
go ahead.
Like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on this, because we could go all episode on this. But make smart decisions. Try to lower your debt if possible. Student loan debt is the second biggest debt to any American. So this is a very important thing. And mortgages is the biggest debt. So even with the mortgages, try to go about it the correct way. Try to buy homes that you can afford. House hack, multifamily. Don't put yourself in a tremendous financial hardship just to live somewhere, because that's not beneficial either, for you just to be working just to pay a mortgage and property taxes. That's not a recipe for financial freedom down the line as well. Do the snowball method if you're trying to get rid of your credit card debt. That is when you're paying, if you have multiple credit cards, you're paying a higher amount on the larger credit cards until you pay the larger credit card off, and then you use that money to the second largest, and then kind of work your way backwards from there. That's a beneficial way to kind of go about it. Definitely call your credit card, to try to negotiate. That is something that you can potentially do. Be wise with your decisions, with your spending. You just got to think. Auto loans, definitely look at, different options before purchasing a car. Look at the difference between if you lease a car and if you, buy a car. Look at used cars. Look at different things that go into play here before you just make a decision, because sometimes you make a decision, you think you're doing the right thing, and you're putting yourself in tremendous debt. So $17 trillion of debt for Americans is something that's concerning. And I think that everybody should look at their own personal situation and reevaluate it and see how they can do better.
I agree. My only final take that I want to put on this is the 3 of the biggest products in the banking system are mortgages, student loans, and overdraft fees. I don't want it to come off as if we're blaming the people, because if they are profiting off of the 17 trillion, at what point will we put pressure on Wells Fargo, Bank of America, JP Morgan, who I have a relationship with, and other banks and institutes? That's part of the reason, like, why some of these regional banks are falling apart as well. Like, it's not the people that put themselves, like, even in 2007, people got blamed for doing bad mortgages, but they never talked about the derivatives trading that Wall Street did off the loans. It wasn't the consumers that crashed the market. It was all the shitty trading and swaps and derivatives that they were doing on the assets, and then lying about the ratings of those. So at some point, we have to have a larger conversation around banking and doing the right thing. And a part of our desire to expand rapidly is causing our corrosion as well, because you can't expand without printing more money at scale. And going back to tech, like even Apple as a company is worth more than all of the Russell 2000. You guys know I love Apple, but that's the biggest sign of a bubble. How can one stock be bigger than a fucking index? Because majority of the other companies in the Russell 2000 small cap are not worth what they were valued at. Most of the venture companies that have got backing in the last 3 years are underwater. So if they were valued 2 years ago at $190 billion or $190 million, they're really worth 85 right now. But they are not going to go back and regrade all of those. We have a bigger debt issue and asset issue across every class. Commercial real estate in San Francisco, 45% vacancy rate, 22% in Chicago. Wow. These are major bubbles. And people want to say we're fear-mongering about China. But when Wealth posted, I don't see them comments. I'll be looking. I'll be on the video. But we can move on. But I think we got to put some pressure on the banks to make sure that they're not taking advantage of us and then blaming us when it goes belly up.
Yeah, you said Apple. They're actually worth more than the GDP of the UK as well.
What?
Wow.
Think about that. They're worth 2.7 trillion, and the GDP of the UK is 2.6 trillion.
Wow. Yeah. Yep.
Unbelievable.
That is pretty unbelievable.
But we live in America. It's a capitalistic society, so you can never look at institutions and banks for any way out. You have to take accountability as a person, because it's ultimately in their best interest to make sure that you're ignorant, that you're making bad decisions, that you're putting yourself in debt.
Yes.
I mean, that's the way.
Yes, you're right.
That is a business model.
You are right.
That's the corporate structure of America. So knowing that is not good enough to say, like, this would be the equivalent to say, like, okay, McDonald's should stop serving Big Macs, and the school system should serve better food. Yeah, that all should happen. It's not in their best interest. So me, as an intelligent person, I can't blame my health issues on outside entities. I have to take responsibility for myself and say that I'm a competent person who can make decisions, and I am choosing to make healthy choices in my eating habits, because I don't want to have high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol. I don't want to go through that. Just like the debt situation, we all have to take responsibility. And if you don't know, that's one thing. But if you're educated and you do it, then that's a decision.
Accountability.
What do you do if you can't avoid it? Like, let's take the food
Financially.
sourcing scenario.
Oh my God.
What do you do if you can't avoid the poison, or you live in an area where there's a food desert, or if we talk about glyphosate, which destroys the gut biome, which has been the number one leading factor for obesity, going up 700%. This has been a class action lawsuit on that company.
Well, I used to live in Baltimore, so I did a whole survey on food deserts. I did an actual study on food deserts, so I know about food deserts for sure. I actually did a research study on it firsthand, and for sure that's an issue. But also, right, this. One of the things that is a common misconception is that it's expensive to eat good. It's actually more expensive not to eat good. So we all still have choices to make, no matter what your circumstances are. 19 Keys, he gave me the book, How to Eat to Live. That was written by Elijah Muhammad in 1950.
Yeah.
In the worst economic situation for Black people, worse than what we all have now. More, and he wrote in 1950 How to Eat to Live. There's a whole book dedicated on healthy living, how to eat, how to grow your own food, how to different things. So yeah, we're always gonna have challenges in America, especially as Black people. But in 2023, we have to find ways to overcome those challenges. We have to find ways, because petitioning, going to the government, going to corporations, trying to hold them accountable, it's not going to work. Be honest with you. It's not going to work. So yeah, we are up against the uphill battle, and there's challenges, but you have to find ways to beat the challenges. If not, we're going to continue to lose.
My graduates from my school,
All right, so
being forced,
I gotta
backdrop.
I'm gonna have to say there's a lot of what he had to say that I'm definitely not on board with. One thing is specific when it comes to the food, and he is right. We have the decision. You have the choice to make to purchase those things. I also believe a business has the obligation to look out for their consumers or customers. And so if you know you're putting something into, if you're selling a product that is causing harm, this is where I believe what I understand the government structures that we vote for and that are being put into position are there for. Janelle and I can't regulate McDonald's. I can't tell McDonald's what's meat and what's not. But I believe that that's what the FDA is here for. I believe that that is what that entity has been set up for, Food, Drug, right? Administration. And yet they aren't doing that, because the other point he made, they are so much more focused on McDonald's profits and how much money that company makes because of lobbyists, that they don't do that and they take a blind eye. There are certain countries, guys, and I don't have a list of it. Maybe we'll tag it to this, where there are certain items that they won't sell their citizens. They don't even allow them to sell them there because they know it's causing harm. Whereas this country does not do those things in all instances. They do allow them to put things on the shelves that are causing harm, that they know cause harm. So you can't tell somebody who has to work two jobs to provide for their family to also be a nutritionist and figure that stuff out. When if the government was doing their part and saying McDonald's serve better, healthier foods, it may cost you more to provide this for those people. You can still charge them 4 for $4 at Wendy's if the nuggets were real nuggets and not whatever this paste thing is that you guys are putting out. And I agree with him. It is both sides. You don't have to eat that. But you can't tell, a person who can go to, and I've done this, I've had to do this in the season of life I'm in, that I can go to Wendy's and pay for my son and myself and my girlfriend to have something to eat. It's going to cost me less than $20. And I can take that same $20 and go to a supermarket and provide that same meal or something that night, if that makes sense. So I'm not pushing back on everything he says. You absolutely have the choice to make those decisions yourself. But I think it's both parts. We can be better informed, and we should be under a nation that looks to help us in those areas. And again, I thought we had organizations set up to do so. And I know that many of them, you'll later on find out, they've been getting paid off, so they don't really care.
Yeah. I'll just add to that. I think what the other guys were just trying to say is that, or at least what, oh man, I just totally blanked out on his name.
The guy that was on his own?
Yeah, I think it's Ahmad. So
yeah, go ahead.
What he was saying is that, like the big businesses, the banks get off on, like, they make money by us not knowing, by us being ignorant to this information, and they will continue. The system is set up so that way none of us know this. So that way the system is set up so that way we think that we're supposed to get way more carbs than we're supposed, right? Like,
yeah, you're lied to.
You're right, exactly. The system is set up that way. We're using food as the analogy. The system is also set up, no analogy now, to make us ignorant about how finances work and how the banks make their money.
True.
So for those that don't have, like, that are just in the matrix, if you will, they're like stuck in the matrix. They don't even know they're in the matrix. They're just trying to do the best that they can. Winston, you're right. I mean, the government is put in place to do that, but it's not doing that. So you're just like, it's just going to continue to perpetuate itself. Yeah. I think what they're hoping for is that they're hoping to educate more and more people, so that way people have the ability to make better decisions. But I know it's hard. It's hard. I think this comes down to just like a education, knowledge kind of a thing. Because even with the information, depending on your circumstance, it's still going to be
exactly,
because it's set up again. It's set up to be easier to do the thing that's bad for you, but that's good for the banks.
Guys, we had an episode on Monday Rundown where we talked about this resistance, and if you have less resistance in some area, and he talked about it much earlier when he said we obviously, the people who don't want to write the essay just to get the $1,000, and to their point, there's less resistance to go out and fill out the student loan form, right? The examples that I was thinking of when if we get back into the food analogy, it's, to me, again, something very similar. It's the idea that you want to believe that you're a part of a system or a country that's helping you in these areas or helping you. But if a bank tells you that if you keep a certain amount of money in your savings account, they won't charge you $12 a month or take out $12 a month to bank with them, what is the easier thing to do? They aren't going to educate you that they're not giving you a dime. They literally aren't even giving you a cent a month to keep the $500 in there. They aren't going to do that. I think they should have to do that. When you sit down and you sign up for the account, they should tell you, this is all you're going to get from this. This is what the interest is on this account.
Go run for president.
Huh? As an immigrant, unfortunately, as an immigrant, they've set that up, so that's not happening. But Norman, Winston Broderick III, yes.
Two things I want to say as we wrap this up is this is a plea to vote. My mom said this to me when we were talking about the decision that the Supreme Court made about affirmative action. and I'm going to say this with the student loan bit, it's really important that you just don't vote for the president, because that's not it, right? Like, who you vote for in terms of your local politics makes so much more difference in terms of your everyday. And then additionally, who's in Congress also matters, who's in the Senate and who's in the House of Representatives. So I'm just putting that out there, that is something that you can do. I wish that more people would do it. People just kind of like leave it up to the presidency. Guess what? The president tried to do something and the Supreme Court just said no. And who are the people who put the Supreme Court justices there? It's the senators and things like that. So, yeah. So I'm just saying that's something that we can do, because what's not happening right now, to your point, Winston, is the government isn't going out there educating us on how to do better. And the only way that that's going to change is if the people who run the government change. How can we change the way who runs the government? Well, technically it's us by us voting. So that's my last take is just that, your vote does matter, especially in local politics. Don't leave it up to chance.
That's definitely going to have to be another episode, because I'm the guy right here sitting here saying, until you find out that the person lying to you on the ticket to get themselves into a job does not care. And I don't know enough about it. You're right, because not doing anything isn't an answer to that. Yeah. And so that's why I said I won't get in there. But yes, I'll leave it at that, because I do agree with you. If given the options you have in terms of that side of it, that is really what you can do. Not doing anything is the same, is not going to help. So I do agree with you there. And if there's just more accountability is the word that I took away from this whole thing, guys. If there was just more accountability on all parts, including our own, the challenges that they say we are facing or actually are in the midst of would probably be less. But I know that there are bright sides to this.
The three houses of the U.S. government are supposed to keep each other accountable. And the president is supposed to keep Congress accountable.
Exactly.
Yeah. Congress is supposed to keep the president accountable, and the Supreme Court justice is supposed to keep Congress accountable. And all of this happens by the local supports the larger, and
the farther one feeds it on. No, but this was really good. I appreciate a lot of the the thoughts that they had, because I know it isn't just one side. You got to look at this from both sides, and we do live where we live, and there's many benefits that come from being here. So, all as we leave the 4th of July.
This is why Juneteenth
down with America.
This is why Juneteenth is my holiday, because I really don't. Yeah, I can't with them.
Down with America. No, I'm joking. I mean, YouTube's gonna be like, nope, flag that channel. All right, but no, guys, let us know the rest of your thoughts in the comments below. I know we went probably way over our 25-minute in time, but this was a really good topic, and I really appreciate what the guys from EYL had to say. But we'll leave it here for today. And so, as always, remember, you deserve the good life. Say that. We'll see you guys. Peace.